I did was a CEIP internship with Mr. Turton, and I worked at the Albany Central School Bus Garage, and this is basically what I've done. The highlights of the program, I learned from a lot of great mechanics as soon as I started out there. Got hands-on experience from them between working with underneath the hood, under the bus, changing tires, the paperwork they have to go through when they get new buses or when one starts on fire, many different things. Working with them, there's a time that you can joke around, like there is a lot of times in the workplace you can joke around, and then there's times where it's okay, now all seriousness, let's get back to work and let's do the job that we have to get done. I learned how to get work done quick but efficiently. It's got to be, you can get it done, the quicker the better, but it also needs to be safe for the students and the passengers on the bus. Alright, so there was a lot of things that I learned throughout my experience over at the bus garage. Learned how to do a PM, which is an inspection that the Department of Transportation has to do. They come in about maybe once or twice a month to come in, and they'll do like 10 buses, and then they'll leave a list of buses that they're going to inspect next, and we get those ready for DOT so that when they come back there's more buses to inspect. Changing oil, different than changing oil in a car. I mean, there's similarities between the two, but the oil filters are different, obviously, but the oil that they put into the buses are different because it's a diesel engine. Fuel lines that connects to the motor from the gas tank, we had to replace those on a smaller bus, and it was pretty difficult at first when you just look under and he goes, okay, we're going to do fuel lines, and you're just like, okay. Dave really took me under his wing and really showed me how to do a fuel line and a bunch of other different stuff. Everybody was just great over there. What you see in this picture is the air tanks that we have under the bus, which operates a lot of the inside compartments. Your brakes are all air pressure, emergency brakes, the doors, stop signs, the wig-wag, which I'll get into later on. 2 chambers for there. This one here is your secondary tank and the wet tank. And this is your secondary, or primary tank. So this valve here, don't know if you can see it, but there's a valve here that when you take the hose off and you turn it to where it's perpendicular with it, the air will come out, and then you'll go to the back and get the secondary one, and that's how we test the valves, to make sure that the valves are fine when we go through our inspections. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There's a lot of bulb changing and doing a lot of electrical work with mechanics. I didn't realize how much until I got over there. It is something I struggle with, but I'm starting to grasp it with talking with the mechanics over there. They're trying to base it off the stuff I know, and I've come pretty far with it. For the PMs, there's different things they have to do to the inside of the bus than you do the outside of the bus. For the inside of the bus, you hit the back seats to make sure that they're still intact, and you lift up on the seats to make sure that they're locked in. On the emergency exit seat that folds up, you want to push it down and see if it'll come back up on its own. Make sure that the fans work, the lights work on the interior, that the running strips are all down properly. Just stuff that you would think is really that necessary to do. Well, yeah, DOT can fail you if you have 2 screws missing in the floor. So it's pretty bad. And I think over the last 10 years, I believe they said, they've only failed 1 bus. And we have probably the best reputation for buses being good in the area. Alright, so this picture here, it's a bus seat. It's actually that emergency seat that I was just talking about, that right by the door exit that pushed down to come back on its own. There was a big rip in the side here, and that was probably with the first week of me being there. There was something that had to be done. It had to be make a decision if you're going to put a patch on it, which is basically what it sounds like. You're putting like a glue on there and putting a piece of fabric over top, and then getting the material that the seat's made out of, which can't recall what it is at this point. But and you use it's like an iron. You use and you iron it on. In this case, we had to stitch it back up with fishing line. And it was basically hand sewing. It does hurt. You're not using a thimble, so just thinner skin. But when it's all said and done after something hard like this, because you're going through so thick of materials, it hurts, but you feel accomplished because it's like, okay, I actually did something. After all of the gaps were taken off, we put some sort of coating on it to make sure that it all stays down, and so that the kids can't come through and just pick at it and have to redo it again. All right, this is the wig.
Can you stop it, John?